I bought 13 broken DJI drones of various makes and models, along with a big box of parts. Let's see if we can fix them. We're gonna start with a DJI Mavic Air 2. But what's wrong with it? Oh, here we go. We got a major problem on this arm right here. So it looks like we got another problem on an arm, but this one's on a slightly bigger drone. And after looking at this one a little more, we got a major problem here, major problem over here. I don't know for sure if the entire arm needs to be replaced. Yeah, it's probably gonna be better to replace because this screw hole is just totally messed up right there. I mean, in a pinch, you could probably just replace this piece right here, but I mean, I want this thing working as good as I can get it to work, and I have the parts here, so I'm gonna replace this arm, and then the same with this arm over here. But how do we do that? There's a screw down here, and a screw over here. We're for sure gonna have to take off this top piece because we need to solder these, the wires for these arms on, just like on the smaller drones. So I guess that's probably where we'll start, is try and remove this top piece, and it looks like this is snapped on too, which could get interesting. So let's try getting this piece off and see how that goes. And with those 4 screws removed, I don't see any other screws on the body of this thing to hold the top piece down, so I think the rest of this is probably just held in with clips. Which I don't like, but oh well. Or the other thing is, there could be like a security screw or something under this label, so we need to remember that as I'm taking this apart. Haha, that's not ideal. Okay, we might be making a little bit of progress here. Got this center, or this front nose cap, and I see some screws down in there, so there we go. Okay. That's something. We got a few more screws here. I'm gonna take, since we have to take these off anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that now and see if there's any other screws down in there holding this cover on. Ah, and there is. There's one right there. Okay. Oh yeah, so much easier. Wow, look at that. When you actually get all the screws out like you're supposed to, this goes much easier. I feel like there must be more back here though. I hope you don't have to take this arm off to get to them. Let's try and do some prying back here and see what happens. Yeah, this just does not want to come off at all, which means I feel like there has to be other screws back here somewhere. So the only thing I can think is maybe there's screws hidden under here. We need to replace this plate anyway because this one is cracked right here and damaged. It's bent all up. So I'm going to remove this and let's see if there happens to be any screws under there. I'm hoping there is because that's my last hope at finding more screws on this thing. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, this comes right off. Okay. Yeah, this definitely needs to be replaced. And look at that. There's a screw hole there and a screw hole right there. And the good news is I don't see any damage on this board or the ribbon cables or anything. This thing, I think, took a pretty hard crash, so glad to see that there's no other obvious issues anyway. Now these screws are in there pretty deep, and unfortunately the iFixit screwdriver just can't get all the way down there. This is a hex 1.5, and I actually don't have that in a fixed blade, so I'm gonna try this Torx T6. That seemed to fit the screws when I was looking at them outside of the drone, and you didn't hear this from me, but that actually is working just fine. I can't believe that actually worked. Okay, now will this thing come off? It's already feeling better. Oh yeah, look at how easy that is. Ah! Just with all the screws out, it just pops right off. Okay, now I know. That's actually fine because we've got another one of these to fix. Which of these actually need to be replaced? Okay, this one needs to be replaced and this one needs to be replaced. So we definitely have some soldering to do on the board. So let's start with this one. It looks like we have a similar mechanism, a pin that keeps the hinge installed there. So let's unscrew this and see if we can pull that out. Oh yeah. And hinge pin. Now that that's out, we've got all the wiring to take care of. Okay, so we have this white wire. Actually, let's look at it here. So we got all those little wires, and then this wire that goes somewhere. Where does that even go? Must go up here. Ah, right there. Okay. Well, let's get it disconnected right now. So that is done. Okay. I'm actually going to disconnect the black one too so we can get the white one through better, easier. There we go. Okay. Now all of that is loose. We just need to do the soldering part. Now I did snap a picture of this, but I don't really need to because these ones go in the same order as these ones and we don't need to desolder these. So when I put them back on, I just need to make sure that they're the same order as this side. And now we should be able to remove this old one. There we go. And install the new one. Okay, good so far. Let's snap this guy on right back here. Good. Okay, and there we go. I think we have that installed. We just need to install the hinge pin now. There's a little slot in the hinge pin and a little slot in that pin right there. So I know that's how it needs to go, but I'm not sure how to fit that all in here. Similar to the other one, kind of have to twist as you push it down in there. Okay, got it. Not gonna lie, that's a difficult one to get in there. Had to move the arm back and forth quite a bit while I was pushing down, but obviously eventually got it. And let's make sure that works and looks normal. Looks good from the top. It bends how it should. Okay, I think we have that one installed. All right, with all that done, we can get all the covers back on, all the screws back in, and hopefully this one's fixed. Oh wait, I still got to do the other arm. There's one screw, and now the other screw. All right, now I just want to straighten up this wiring just a little bit, make it look neat, and make sure it's going to be out of the way of everything, because we don't want the wires getting pinched when we go to put this thing back together. You can see how these wires over here kind of all go down below the board, so that's kind of what we're looking for, just to make sure they stay right where they need to go. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we're finally ready to put this thing back together. And on reassembly, we can replace this old nasty bottom piece with this brand new one. To do that, I need to install this sensor onto this one. So we'll do that now, and then we'll get it installed onto the drone. Oh, that looks so nice. We definitely need new propellers on this one, but I'm just going to install these ones for now. That should at least let us test it when it's time to do that. So I'm going to get these installed, and then this one will be done. Okay, and there we go. We'll do this other one off camera. Let's move on to the second DJI Mavic Air 2. So I have the replacement rear arm for the Mavic Air 2, but I didn't notice that this front arm also needs to be fixed. It looks like maybe it's just Missing a hinge pin. Maybe the body's broken down there. I don't know. But unfortunately, I don't have the part for that one. We've already replaced arms on these Mavic Air 2s, so I'm not gonna wait for the parts to finish this video. I'm gonna just continue on this video, and then once I get the parts for this, I'll fix it probably off camera. Let's move on to the first DJI FPV drone. So this first FPV drone, it looks like we got a problem right here. And also the inside down here is cracked, which means we need to install this full base piece. I don't even know what it's called. And then we also have this arm to replace as well. Somebody already tried to fix this by using epoxy or super glue. Clearly that did not work very well. So I've never done this before. Let's start taking some screws out. I think the first thing I want to do is take this piece off, and the same size of screw as on some of the other drones. That's handy. Okay, and then, okay, this piece comes off. Okay, good. And then I think this piece has to come off somehow next. Okay, and we got some clips down here, but then this thing will just kind of pull off. Okay, it gives us a view of the internals of this thing. So basically, all of this stuff has to be transferred over to this. This could take a while. Let's take these off next. Okay, and then it looks like this whole piece can come off. And it also looks like the motor must mount in here separately, maybe? So the motor wires look like they just connect right there. That's pretty handy as far as getting to them. But I still can't figure out how this whole thing comes off. Ah, that's because we have one more screw down in here filled with epoxy. Okay, I think we got it coming loose here. Yep. There we go. I think we can get that out. Let's remove these wires. And they are marked as well. I'm going to take some photos of this just to make sure we get it right. But it looks like we can just desolder these wires and then pull this arm out. I'm hoping. And then it looks like we need to remove this metal piece to get the black antenna connector off. Now we need to see if this whole arm, I feel like the whole arm should pull off, but okay, what just happened? We just pulled all sorts of stuff out of here. So the wires came out. This wire just totally broke up. It was the gray one I was supposed to remove, which I would have known if I would have paid attention over here. No big deal, because we do have this one. Is that the one for this? Yes. So that's not a big deal. And this little connector right here, I'm not sure where that is in this. It should come out here, but I don't see it. So I'll have to take a look at that on this new part. So with this needing to plug in over there somewhere, it plugs in down there. So that we would have had to take off first, and then this gray connector as well right here. Luckily, these are all just pieces that we have on this new part. I am going to plug this black cable back in, because that's not something that we need to have removed right now. Okay, so we got this one off. We basically have to do that to all the other arms, it looks like, so we can get all the pieces off of this inner frame right here. I would have thought that they would make these so you can replace these arms and motors easily, but having this connector have to connect way down here just seems like that's not very repair friendly, but maybe there's something I'm missing. Either way, I think what I'm going to do is take more pieces off of this before we get to these arms. I really hope this ribbon cable has an easy way to disconnect, because so far this gimbal is held on by this piece right here, and that's just all soldered right onto this flex cable right here. So there's no connector here, there's no anything. If you need to replace this gimbal, you have to replace this ribbon cable with it. I don't know, is there... Okay, there is a connector right down there. So I guess we'll take those screws off and see. Maybe it won't be that big of a deal. It seems ridiculous to not just have a connector right there, but let's remove those two screws and see if that connector is easy to get to. This connector is glued down to this metal piece, but the gimbal connector right here looks to be easy to remove. Let's see if it is. Yeah, okay. Not too bad. I was getting a little worried about that. Okay, now with that removed, this little guy up here should be able to come off, except for we have to remove this first, it looks like. Okay, and that does come right off. That's good. All right. Now I've got, it looks like a couple screws here to remove, and then this piece might just come off. So I'm running into problems getting this piece off here because everything seems to need to come off from back here first. So I'm gonna try taking this guy off. Okay, and then that frees us up to be able to see all these connections, which is good. What else needs to come off of here? All right, so that loosens this whole board up, but what do we need to do to get this? Oh, this board is loose too, but not as loose as it should be. There's still something connecting these two boards together, it looks like. Actually, looking at it, maybe this whole piece just comes out as one piece. Let's try disconnecting these cables. Anything else connecting it? Yep, this black cable I need to remove again. These cables we need to remove up here. And does that free it up? Yeah, it's getting there. Okay, making progress. Now, almost got it. Oh, there we go. Okay. That needs to come off. That needs to come off. These other two little cables down here need to come off. One there. One there, and then, are we free? Almost, there's still something holding. Oh, we got a ribbon cable under here. That's what I don't know how that comes out, that bottom sensor piece, but that's already disconnected there, and there we go. Whew, okay, so that's out of the way now. I really hope I can get this thing all back together. Okay, and then we can desolder all these wires and that'll come off. And then these arms will come off much easier, hopefully. And with those desoldered, we should be able to start getting this to come up, just like that. And now we can disconnect these guys right here, hopefully. You have some epoxy on them, which we might have to remove. Okay, and there we go. Now these arms are going to come off much easier, I bet. But we still have the problem of these sensors not coming off. I think it has something to do with the ribbon cable. I'm just not sure what. Okay, so this has these little guides and they need to slide right down on there. So this needs to be all the way in, and then this has to go on and slide down just like that. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, now we need to get this ribbon cable out from here and then get the arms off and the rest of the case pieces, and then we can swap all that over onto this one. And with these arms slid out a little bit, these screws removed, we can flip this down and hopefully pull the ribbon cable through. Yep, and there we go. Okay, getting closer. So we can get that one off and that one off. We need to remove this screw down here, and then we can remove this one. Of course, it's filled with silicone or epoxy or something. So we got to get that out so we can get our bit in there. And then it's a matter of getting all the extra wires out, like these little guys. And then it's time to transfer everything over. And now with all these little wires in where they go, we can remove these two arms and install them onto this new frame. There we go. Now we just need to feed them through here. Okay, there we go. That's easy enough. This is a lot easier when I get my pick in here and remove the wires from the little channel. Then I can just pull them out just like that. And then they're just free to move right out, just like that. Okay. There we go. There we go. We got the second ones on. Okay, that definitely seems to fit right where it should. Let's put the other one on. Okay. There we go. All good so far. Now let's get this piece on. These front sensors, that was kind of difficult, so let's see if we can get that on. So we just need to pass this right up through here. At least I think that's what I did. There we go. And then that goes on there. And this will clip on there. Ah, glad I didn't attach these arms fully. That needs to go under the arm. Same with this side. With that on there, then we can slide the arm on all the way. And then we can slide the sensors. Oh, after we close this door here. Oh, actually, we can't do that yet anyway. I gotta screw some screws in here. We got screws here, 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 and here. And then I can slide this back on. Now with all of these screws in, now we can slide this sensor piece on and screw these screws down. And there we go. Okay, looking good. Okay, now I think we're ready for this guy. This is gonna be interesting. All right, this is probably gonna be difficult. I've gotta snap that in with very little room to work down in here. Gotta make sure I've got enough of it, as much out here as I can get. Okay, so in order to snap that in, I'm not gonna be able to get a good shot of this. I'm gonna have to use my plastic pry tool to pry down on it once I get it in the right position. Almost there. Oh, did we get it? I think we got it. Okay, I think we're good. I think we got that installed. That went better than I thought it would. Okay, so now I've got to get all the little tiny screws in, and then we need to put this backboard on. Now I need to get the screws in this one, and then we can start doing some soldering. Now this metal piece goes back on. Now with that on, we can install the gimbal. Okay, so far so good. I don't have any extra screws so far. That's always nice. And then we can put on, hopefully, put on this top piece. Let's flip it over the right way here. There we go. And now just this last piece, we've got to get in here, snapped in and screwed down. We just have this one last little broken piece right here. I don't think I'm gonna be able to fix that. At least right now, I just don't have the part for it. So we're gonna screw this thing in and call it good. And the very last screw. Whew, that was quite the job, but we got it all back together, no missing screws. Even all the places where the plastics meet actually look pretty good. No major gaps or cracks that shouldn't be there. So this one's looking pretty good, but Will it turn on and will the motor spin? Let's try it out and find out. I'm not gonna actually start this thing up, but I do want to at least turn it on and make sure these motors spin. All right, let's see if it'll turn on. Oh, we got some lights. Motors, whoa. I think it's supposed to do that. I'm not totally sure. The whole thing vibrated, but I did see all the motors move. All the lights are on. So this drone looks to be fully working. Obviously I need to connect it to a controller and do a flight test and make sure the whole thing works. But so far everything's looking good. Let's move on to the next FPV drone. So next we've got these two FPV drones that I don't see any physical issues with. So I'm gonna get these hooked up to a controller and to my phone and see if they have any errors or if we can figure out what might be wrong with them. So we have this drone started up. Everything looks good so far. Let's move the sticks in and see if it'll start the motors up. Oh, this motor's making a strange sound. Let's turn this off. So this motor is definitely warmer than any of the other motors. So I think we have a problem with this motor. The problem with that is I don't have the extra part I need for this. Maybe out of these other two, we can find one that we can use for parts. If not, I might not be able to fix this one in this video. I was definitely not expecting a faulty motor. But for now, let's move on to this other one that I don't see any physical issues with. Let's see what's wrong with that one. And of course, for FPV drone number 3, we have to do a firmware update. All the lights are red. I'm hoping that's just because it needs an update. I don't totally know, but once we get this updated, we'll find out. So with this drone hooked up to the goggles, in the goggles it says ESC auto check error and also 2 propulsion system warning errors. So I think we probably have a problem maybe with one or more of the motors or possibly the ESC on the aircraft. So I think at this point, I'm gonna inspect these motors and then probably take it apart and see if we can see anything wrong on the inside. It's kind of hard to tell, but way down inside this motor, there's I don't know, it looks like almost some sort of gel or something that's dried onto the motor. And if we look in one of these motors, everything is just completely clean inside there. So, I mean, my guess would be that possibly this motor is faulty and that's what's causing it. But I just don't know. There's nothing obvious. There's no error that shows exactly what motor is causing the problem. But I feel like maybe this motor possibly got really hot and maybe melted something inside the motor and that's what all this stuff is. Or maybe there's something spilled into the motor. I just don't know at this point. But I think the best bet is going to be to replace this arm. So I'm going to do that next and see if this error goes away. So the other problem we have here is it looks like this right rear motor is faulty, at least it seems like. And we know this right rear motor is faulty. And we have this drone that I've decided to use for parts. This is the one that had the green cover. This motor we can use to replace one of these. And I'm thinking maybe we'll take this motor off of the front and replace the actual motor inside the arm to get the other motor we need. So let's see if we can fix these two broken drones with this broken drone. Okay, and I'm done removing parts off of this poor thing, at least for now. Now let's see if we can get these parts installed onto these two and see if that'll fix them. Let's go ahead and try and fix this one first since we know, at least I think we know what the issue is, and that's this rear motor. So let's try and fix this one first, then we'll move on to this one. So now in order to get to this arm, I need to also remove this piece, these two screws right here, and a couple screws down here, and then I can get to the wires to desolder them. Okay, and now we can get to the wires for this arm. I'm going to remove these two screws right here, and then this large screw down inside here, and that will release the arm. Then I just have to desolder the wires, and that should pull out. Now, theoretically, this should pull off. Okay, so there's that one. Now we have the replacement. We're going to put back on right here, theoretically, and there we have it. Now I just got to put all these pieces back on, all the screws in, and then we'll be able to start it up and see what happens. I'm not going to film all that. You guys have seen me reassemble these things, so we'll just cut straight to and all back together. Now let's get this hooked back up to the controller and see what happens. Okay, and here we go. Let's see if we can start it up. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Exact same noise. So either we have another bad motor or there's something else going on. Now when I look through the goggles, it tells me that a motor has stalled and to check the motor that it moves freely. And this motor moves just fine. There's absolutely no issues with that. Same with the old one that I took off. So I feel like it's probably not an issue with the motor. That means there must be something maybe on one of the boards in here, maybe the ESC. If that's the case, I can replace that, and I'm tempted to do that, but I'm just a little bit worried about why it's saying that it's sensing a motor that is stalled. I think what we'll do is we'll save drone number 2 for last. Let's move on to drone number 3 and see if we can get that one working. I have the part right here. Let's install this and see if that'll fix it. So this is the motor that I took off of drone number 2. This is the one that has the motor stall issue. This is drone number 3 that has the motor with the gunk down inside of it that looks like maybe something melted. So in order to test whether this motor is good or bad, I'm going to install this motor onto drone number 3 and see if drone number 3 will work with this motor. And out with the suspected bad motor, in with the maybe bad, maybe good motor. Okay, now we have it installed. I'm gonna go ahead and not put this thing all back together like I've been doing because that takes so much longer. Let's see what it does with these motors when it starts up. Okay, the motor does move how it normally would, so that's good. Okay, I'm gonna get this all connected back to the controllers. Hopefully that'll fix this one. Okay, and those errors are gone that we had before, so I'm hoping this is good news. Let's see what happens when we try to take off without the propellers. Ah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So this one is all fixed now. That proves this motor is good, which means this motor is good, which means on drone number 2, I'm thinking maybe it has a problem with the ESC. Okay, I'm gonna shut this one down. Let's get back to number 2 and see if we can fix that one. And we're back with drone number 2. I've got it all apart again. I'm thinking our best bet is gonna be to replace the ESC. I'm pretty sure that this motor is good, and yet it still gives me the stalled motor error. Now, when I start it up, it sounds like it's this motor, but it is possible it's a different one, but I think it's probably this one. So I think at this point, I'm gonna replace the ESC, and let's just see if that'll fix it. So we have FPV drone number 2 all prepped so we can remove this ESC and install the ESC from drone number 4, the one with the green cover. All I have to do is unsolder these wires and then solder them onto the new ESC. And soldering's done. Now I'm gonna put it back together just enough to test, and we'll see if that'll work. Let's see what happens when we try and start the motors. Ah, beautiful. We've got the FPV drone number 2 working great. I can't believe we actually fixed it. It seems to be a bad ESC, but this one seems to be fully working. Obviously, I still need to give it a full test outside, but so far it looks like it's working great. So out of the 13 broken drones that I bought, there was only 4 that weren't fixable. If you like this type of video where I'm trying to fix a whole bunch of broken stuff, you'll probably like the video where I tried to fix a bunch of original Game Boys. I'll put that video up on your screen now so you can come check it out and see if I could fix them. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.